So I've sewn together my side seams and I've done my slits and I've also sewn my hem in. I've also prepared my sleeves, so I've put in the ease stitch, so that's your ease stitch that we're going to use to gather just now from the dot to the dot. I've sewn the side seams together and I've put the hem in the sleeves. So now we're ready to put the sleeves in. So to put the sleeves in the garment needs to be the wrong way around and the sleeves need to be the right way around. So what we're going to do now is we're basically going to take the sleeve and we're going to push it into the garment like that, so that we now have right sides together. So if I look here under my arm, so I start with the underarms, and I put those two seams together, and then I work my way this way, and then what I will notice is my nip. So at the moment here I have two blue marks on this one. You can't really see that one, but there's a blue mark there. So this is two blue marks, and here's only one, which means this is the back sleeve that is about to be sewn onto the front of the garment. The back of the sleeve is supposed to be sewn onto the front of the garment, which means this is the wrong sleeve for this side. So I need to take that sleeve out and take my other sleeve. So you can only get this wrong once. If you get this wrong on the first sleeve, you'll get it wrong on the other one. But if you get it right, then you won't get it wrong on the other sleeve. Okay, so now that I know that I have the right sleeve, I'll also see that on my sleeve, my seam is going towards the back because I've ironed it towards the back. So I know this is my front, there's my dart, so this is my front, and this is going towards the back, so I know that this is the correct sleeve. So I'm first going to pin this. So we've got it on this garment, there's a slit, so I've got an open seam over here. So we'll keep that as an open seam, but the sleeve is not an open seam, so we're just going to keep that to the one side, so that's going to the back. And again, I'm going to put my two pins in. I just need to grab some pins. So two pins in to hold everything down nicely. Then I'm going to work towards the front, match my two little nips over here, pin those together, and then very gently, without stretching anything, I'm going to pin the garment up until I get the first dot. So basically where the stitching, the ease stitching starts. So I'm also going to start working from this side of the garment. So basically we're going to pin where we can see the sleeve and not the outside. So very, very gently, don't stretch either of the two garments panel pieces. Go up until your first dot and you're going to put a pin there. Okay, then you're going to go to the top. So the top of the sleeve has a little dot over there, and that is going to line up with my shoulder seam. So I'm going to pin that together. So lining up that with my shoulder seam, making sure it doesn't get twisted, so it's still going towards the back. So pin that in place. And now I will be able to see by how much I need to ease this in. So I've got this point, and so these 2 points placed, and I can see that my sleeve here is a little bit bigger than the garment, which is correct because we have ease in the sleeve. So now I can know by how much to pull it. So if I grab one of these threads, so just always only pull with one of them, and I pull the thread, I'm basically going to pull this, gather it until these two are now the same. So if I look carefully now, I can see my sleeve and my garment is the same. There's a big gather over there, but don't worry about that. We're going to fix it now. So I'm going to move to the pin now and just secure this thread so that while I'm evening everything out, it doesn't come undone. So take your thread and now you're going to wrap it, come on thread, you're going to wrap it around your pin in the figure of an 8. So wrap it around the pin like this so that it's nice and secure. And now I'm going to go back here and work those ease stitches out. So I just want it to be even everywhere. And if you look very carefully here, you can see it's difficult to do on the camera, but basically your garment is tighter than your sleeve, and the sleeve is making little waves here. But where you're stitching, it actually fits because you're stitching on this line, which is further down from that angle. And that's actually fitting. So you can see now it's creating a kind of a shape for your shoulder. So it's giving you that bit of a curve by pulling that fabric in. But where you're going to stitch, on this line here where you're stitching, it's actually lying flat. Okay, I'm going to do the other side as well. So I'm going to go back down to my underarm and just push that in. I'm going to match my 2. So there's my 2 marks, my 2 dots and the 2 dots. So now I know that's the back of my sleeve. And then very gently work my way back up to this dot here. There we go. And now I've got this thread here that I'm going to use to pull. So I can check. So I can see here on the back, the sleeve is quite a bit much bigger than the shirt. That's for the shoulder. So I'm going to pull this guy so that those are the same. Pull them a little bit until I can see that they are now the same length. Okay, so I pulled too much and then I had to let it loosen a little bit, but now they are the same length. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this guy around here again in the figure of 8. And then very gently, okay, so this one pulled quite nicely, but basically you want to even these little gathers out because it mustn't create a gather anyway. It's just an ease. It's an ease stitch. Oh, my pin fell out here. I'll just repin that one over there. That was my shoulder seam pin fell out. Okay, so now I'm going to put some more pins in here. Not worrying too much about these little curves here, these little curls that's happening, because over here on the inside that actually matches. It's like when you have 2 circles, the outer circle is always bigger than the inner circle, but you're going to be sewing on the inner circle, so don't worry that you have these little waves happening over there. So keep pinning, put lots of nice pins in because you don't want any gathers. You just want to create ease in the sleeve or the shoulder. Okay, and once you have all your pins in and you're happy with it, you're going to now sew, and you're basically going to put it into the machine like this. So you're going to sew on the sleeve side. So you're actually going to start sewing from here and sew basically on the inside of the garment. It feels a bit weird, but it's the best way to do it without catching lots of different things. There's definitely lots of different ways, and I've tried this a lot of times, but this is the best way. So you're going to put it into the machine and you're going to start sewing over here. Okay, so like I said earlier, we're going to actually sew from this side. So we're going to sew from the side where the sleeve is. So line this up in your machine, just get them on quickly. And you're going to start always at the underarm seam. Do your back stitch. And then just very carefully keep checking. So I kind of use my fingers as my eyes, and I keep checking all the time that I'm not getting any folds. So go very slowly all the way around and check that your underneath layer hasn't disappeared. Keep it on your 1 centimeter. So when you get here, you need to take that pin out. So don't worry about those stitches anymore because they're all pinned in place. So you can actually take this guy out the way. I will remove the stitch later because it's black, but I made it in black so we could see what's happening. So as we come around here, just keep checking that there's no pleats, no gathers. It must just ease in nicely. So I can feel underneath there's a bump, so I'm just moving the fabric so that underneath it's not making bumps. So like I say, I use my fingers as my eyes, so I can feel when something's not right. If there's a bump of fabric underneath, then I just need to move it out the way. There's definitely something not happy there. There we go. So it's a little bit of a slow process, but you want a beautiful sleeve. Just go all the way around, checking as you go that that you're not getting any pleats. And once I'm done, I check from the outside that everything's looking nice, and you can see that that sleeve is giving a little bit of shape here, curve for your shoulder, and all happy days. And now I will overlock that seam.